Bula, and welcome back to Viti Vibes, the show where inspired youth inspire youth. I'm your host, Shannon Permal, and I hope you're all having a wonderful day so far. First and foremost, we want our viewers to know that your involvement is highly encouraged, so please keep the comments, feedback, and suggestions coming so we can make future episodes even better. Not only this, but as a youth-led show, we want to let you all know that opportunities for Fijian youth to be a part of our show and on our team is available. So stay tuned to the end of the show to find out how. Before we kick this episode off, I'm excited to announce that our show had the pleasure of being featured on CBC Radio. For those of you who don't know, CBC is the Canadian Broadcasting Channel, and I had the pleasure of sharing my experience on the North by Northwest radio show brought to you by CBC. I want to extend a special thank you to Cheryl McKay for reaching out and wanting to highlight our show on hers. Now, although the show is already broadcasted, you can still listen to it by visiting online at cbc.ca and search for North by Northwest, and then find the June 12th episode. That being said, have you ever noticed the people that are included in our intro title sequence? Well, first off, the point in doing this was to show you some real faces of Fijian youth. And last week, you got to meet one of the youngest guests we had on the show thus far. Well, today, we have another guest here with us in the studio who you might recognize or notice a part of the title sequence as well. Today, I'm joined by Shiva, a dedicated youth musician. Him and I were able to talk about his experiences as a musician and also got to cover the topics of music and culture within the Indo-Fijian context and community. So without further ado, allow me to introduce to you Shiva Naikar. Hello and welcome back to Viti Vibes, the show where inspired youth inspire youth. I'm your host, Shannon Permal. Thank you for sticking around with us for the rest of this episode. Today, I have a special guest in our studio and his name is Shiva Naikar. So, hello Shiva, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, I want you to let the viewers know first and foremost, a little bit more about yourself. So, I'll hand the floor to you.
Okay. Well, I'm Shiva Naikar. I've been in the, I would say Fiji music community, like the Indo-Fijian music community for since I could remember. And yeah, I'm I guess I don't call myself a certain type of artist. It's just a learning musician.
Learning musician, okay. So what kind of musician would you say you are? In the sense of what kind of instruments do you play?
I don't limit myself to a certain type of music,
yeah.
But everybody's I think you're saying what I'm known for maybe.
Yeah.
Indian, Fiji Indian, stuff like that. So it's instruments like dolak, baja, the usual stuff, and then yeah.
Okay, so I like that you mentioned that I only know that. So what's this other thing that you didn't mention that we don't know about?
The other stuff is more stuff that's out of kind of out of the Fijian community, more for instance some of the other kids in the Fiji community do other music like India, classical Indian style and stuff like that. So I have an interest in that too. I don't really show it in public, but I do other music.
Oh, okay, so that's a little bit more low-key than what you're actually known for. Okay, so I want to ask, what kind of instruments do you play, and which ones are your, favorites, your go-tos?
That's a hard one.
Really?
Yeah, because, musicians, if you're, fully, an artist is different, because the artist plays one music, but, a musician is, I like almost everything.
Okay, so, yeah, name what you play, and then you can pick your favorite.
I play dolak, baja. Those are the main two, I guess, and then just anything I can get my hands on, really. But I think baja, harmonium.
Okay.
That's my favorite one.
All right. So how did you get this passion for music? You want to explain that a little bit more?
I think I was just it's I think I was just exposed to it when I was little.
Okay.
I remember if the we didn't have at that time we had a small little dolak my dad made me, but before I had that I would have nothing, right? So my pati or my grandma, she would have this little orange I don't know if you know murku the snacks she'd have this little container. So that I'd be this little toddler with my little foot on top of the container, and when the radio would come on, I'd just play it.
Oh,
so
wow, that's very resourceful for a child. Your imagination is going wild.
Get what you can, right, and use it, and then from there it just started.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so who inspired you? Do you have any inspiration as to when you started this whole music thing?
I think a lot of inspiration comes from some artists from India, Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan and all those big guys. But for me, it was more same dolak. It was my dad. right? Like, because he was this like old school like legend.
Yeah.
And then like it was hard to match up to him, but then I was playing as a little kid, so it's like, you know, I got like some attention, and then from there, like slowly that started wearing off, and the passion started growing. Like, you know, like what else can I do?
Yeah.
And then I started like touching all these other instruments, and then it was like, wow, like I can play this, and it's just coming naturally. And then singing, and then you know, like if I didn't take that risk and, you know, try, then I might not have been here.
That's very awesome. Like, so you'd say like exposure was like through your family, like your dad, for example, was like your root in
that, and then like other you know, like artists within the community.
Oh, okay, that's cool. So during like, I guess like your high school years, did you like really like pursue music during then? Like, did people know about it, or did you?
I think during high school years, it was like a phase, you know, like every teenager goes through a phase. Like, I don't like this anymore. You know, like you know, like the rebellion phase. Right? I did that for a little bit, but then I came back, and that's like the reason I came back was like, I think around like 2016 when I was just graduating. I got back because like the kids group I'm in, and it's like they kind of pulled me back into like the whole like the musical scene, and like you know, like the boys are like super cool. And,
so that's really cool. So I want to actually talk a little bit more about that afterwards, but first I want to ask you more about this mandali. So first thing I'm going to ask you to do is, for our viewers that don't know what a mandali is, in English, can you explain what that is?
There's a deeper meaning to what a mandali is, but like, just like so they understand, a mandali is just a band, really. It's like a group of people who, you know, do just perform. Perform, it doesn't matter what it is, like Qawwali, bhajan, you know, whatever it is.
But is it like mostly like in the context of like Indo-Fijian music or Indian music?
It's just a mandali is just a word for like
just the group itself.
A group itself. So like if they saw like an English group out there, it would be a mandali.
Oh, okay.
So it's just a word of like.
Oh, right. Okay.
But there's a deeper meaning for it.
Yeah. So what's that deeper meaning? I want to ask.
It's like it's a very like. It's like
philosophical.
It's very like.
Okay, can you like kind of touch on it?
That it's like I couldn't even begin. Like, to start. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So I know that you've been a part of mandali for quite some time. So I want you to talk a little bit more about that. Like, what's the name of it, and a little bit more about the experience on that.
All right. So Saraswati Gyan Prakash is the group name, and these boys brought like something like really different. Not different, like around the world you've seen it happen, but like in BC or like where we are, they brought something like, it was like, they naturally attracted to me because of the way like, you know, for example, they like did their minds and like did like their like, you know, they had growth within it, because when I first started, I was like really old school, right?
Yeah.
And so like I wasn't allowed to play anything new school, and like I had limits, but then like there was this group where like they were all like my age, near my age, and like they were pushing boundaries like as far as they could, and like that's where like, you know, Alvin from the group, he's the one who taught me like new school, like how to play. So like all my videos like where like I play new school and like get comments, it's because of Alvin.
Oh, okay.
Before that,
so you brought kind of a little bit more of the old school vibe, and then he kind of balanced it out with the new school.
Yeah.
Okay, so shout out to Alvin for that.
100%. And then like Shiva guys, they're like insane artists.
Okay, that's great. So, like, can you tell me more about, like, some things that you've learned being a part of the group, or some things that you've taught being in the group?
I don't really notice, like, what I teach. I just, like...
You just do it?
I just do it. And then, like, but, like, being taught, I've learned, like, I think uncountable things in that, like, money, where there's, like, beats, or, like, how to compose, or like, you know, like
music related, like
music related,
learning.
or like not even that, like religion related, or like culture related, like stuff like that. It was just like a new
so do you guys like kind of operate with only in like the cultural realm, like I guess like religious wise?
No, we kind of bounce off and do like you know, wedding programs and stuff like that, where we sing Qawwali, like and like Bollywood movies, like movie songs and stuff like that.
Okay.
So.
Awesome. Yeah. So how has your group involvement, your involvement in the group actually, how has that impacted you as like a person, per se?
I think it really like, it impacted my music, and like, especially like charity work.
Okay.
Charity work, like seeing things in a different light, or like, you know, like you wouldn't think about it before. You would just hear it. It's like when you go on your phone and like you see a charity and like people suffering and like stuff like that, and you kind of like like people do that and they don't want to admit it, but like you just look at it and just scroll by and like or like the photo and like to show support, right? But these guys they went to Fiji and like saw everything and make sure they donated and stuff like that. And here like we do like Mother's Day and like all these like stuff, foundation stuff and shows for like things, and it's like it's like like it's just that thing coming out from the phone and like into real life where you can actually see it.
Yeah. And so it's like not just music that you guys are doing as a group. So you're like doing like charity work as well,
100%.
Not just here but also
100%.
like internationally, right?
100%.
That's actually really great. I didn't know that actually.
Yeah.
I just thought it was like a music-based group.
Like when they did that Fiji trip, like that's what they went for. Like,
oh, okay. Oh, okay. That's actually really interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah. And I think like a lot of viewers who are also not familiar with the whole concept of like these groups that exist, right, in our cultural sector. Right. Like I think it's definitely like really knowledgeable that you're sharing this with us. So my next question for you is, aside from music, do you have any other hobbies?
Ooh, I have a lot of other hobbies. Like sports, I guess. Sports and
what kind of sports?
Soccer.
Soccer.
Of course, because
Fijian,
yeah. And then Notch. I do
I'm glad you mentioned that because I actually wanted to bring that up as my next question. So in the bare like minimum, or not bare minimum, but like in kind of English, can you explain what Tirkutu Notch is for the viewers?
Okay, so it's kind of weird you bring that up because Tirkutu like the way it's spelled like Tirikutu. Okay. That word like doesn't really exist.
Okay, so it's just called Notch.
It's not even called Notch. It's called like Tirikutu.
Oh, okay.
It's different, right? So it's like it's spelled different and it's like said different.
Okay.
And what that means is like Tiri is like some people say Tirunal or like like Tirukalianam, stuff like that. It means God. Like or it's like God or like godly thing, and then Kotu means dance or like musical. So it's like when the words get put together it means like a musical of God. So it's basically like you're like it's like how you read a Ramayana and like spread knowledge. It's like Dharam Prachar.
Oh, okay. Yeah, for those of you that don't know, that aren't Hindu, like Ramayana is like a religious what's the word? Like a story.
It's it's like Veggie Tales for like Christian people.
Yeah, I'm not too sure how to like explain that. It's kind of hard because it's such a big thing.
It's like mythological stories like from gods and goddesses from our culture.
Okay, so how long have you been doing the Notch stuff for?
Not long. I started actually like with the kids that I'm with, like first like Alvin and like.
So through the group, you picked it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh no, not through the like the mandaly group. I'm saying.
Okay.
I like before I started Tanacho, I used to sit with like a appa, like the person we learned from, and like listen to the stories, and that's what attracted me, right? And like how like they nacho and like what are their stories and what are their characters and like that kind of got me. But before me, like Alvin was a really small kid when he used to do it, and like these guys are all veterans before me.
Yeah.
But like I started later on, but.
Okay, so who would you say, like, is it a group collective thing that people teach, or is there like certain like people that are like dedicated to teaching you how to
it's certain people who like have the passion, and like it's really hard to meet like a person who can teach that has like like the really really deep knowledge about it.
Yeah. Okay, so why do you think it's significant, like Notch? Like why do people do it?
It's because it's a form of like storytelling. It's for you to like know like what our religion is and what our culture is and stuff like that. Like what our language is. Other than that, that's why they we sing in Tamil.
Okay.
And then he explains it in Hindi. So like you can pick that up like like they say this in Tamil too, or like this happens in that too, and like Notch. The special thing about Notch is like I guess how they relate to real life.
Okay, yeah.
So like things like little small things that like are in Notch that can relate to real life. Like people will go like, oh wow, like that's why this is this and that's why that.
Like you can make the connections between the two,
and it just blows people's mind.
Okay, I didn't know that. It's been quite some time because I remember going when I was like super young, but like me myself, like I got out of touch because like got busy.
100%.
Things happen, right? But we'll get back to like getting out of touch with culture in like a second. But first I want to bring up the fact that you actually went overseas to be a part of like a couple of notches,
Yeah.
I believe, right?
Yeah.
So do you want to talk a little bit more about that experience of going overseas and doing that?
It was unexplainable.
Really? Where'd you go first of all?
It was New Zealand.
Okay.
Like somewhere in Auckland.
Mhm.
Right? And then it was unbelievable. Like the crowd, I've never seen that type of crowd before.
Mhm.
Like it was packed and like they all stayed until like the
Mhm.
entire notch was over, and like, you know, they appreciated the art, and it
Yeah.
felt like overwhelming and like, you know, heartwarming that, you know,
That's great
like,
to hear.
artists like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the difference like between like I guess the vibes between like when you went there and versus here?
Here it depends, like it doesn't depend on like going out places. It depends on like who you are and like where you're from.
Okay.
So it's like if you're from New Zealand, then you're not really gonna get the reaction that you're gonna get out,
Oh, okay.
right? Just because like they're used to me, like everybody, like I walk down the
Mhm.
street and it's like Shiva, you know, like so he naturally, you know, he's gonna be like in that notch next week, like,
Yeah.
so they're used to me, right? So it's not that big of a deal. But like
Mhm.
when we take our art and go somewhere else,
Mhm.
then it's like, you know, people from out are coming to show like what they have.
Mhm.
So we're gonna like.
So it's that whole
see it.
element of like, oh, celebrity status, like someone from overseas
No, no.
is coming.
No, not like that. It's more of like what can they bring different that we haven't seen before.
Mhm. Okay, that's very interesting. So I guess my next question for you is like being a part of like the musical groups, these notch groups. How has that benefited you personally?
I found music through this way, and
Mhm.
music is like very, very important to me. Like, you know, like I take risks and do all different kinds of music, and like
Mhm.
it's like kind of an escape for me as well. You know, so like it's a very like peaceful, like it's like therapeutic. I found therapy through.
Yeah, I always say like we had a couple artists previously on previous shows of Viti Vibes, and like the common thing is like music is very therapeutic for a lot of people, right?
Right.
So I'm very like happy that you're able to find it like very therapeutic for yourself as well, right? It just goes to show that it's true.
Yeah,
And then-
100%.
yeah.
And it doesn't matter what kind of music. Like my music is very different than like.
Absolutely,
previous
yeah.
artists, right?
To each
But-
their own, right?
Right, but like music itself is very like
Mhm.
is very you just gotta find the right one.
Yeah, definitely. So now I want to kind of bring the convo to like the topic that we're talking about, music and culture, and then tie it in with youth. So I want to ask you, like, why do you think so many youth, like for example, like of Hindu, Indo-Fijian background, that either here or even back home in Fiji or like overseas, like that aren't actually like they don't feel connected to their culture? Like, why do you think that so many kids don't want to participate in like cultural activities or religious activities?
There are many reasons
Mhm.
that I can explain.
Yeah. Could you
one,
just like talk, like a few of them?
a few of them.
Yeah.
Right? So like one of the reasons is like they're very like kids right now are very advanced.
Mhm.
So like before when we were kids, or like before like when my dad like parents were kids and stuff like that,
Mhm.
it was more like of like their parents would go like, okay, you have to do this, and then they would ask why, and like they would get a slap on the hand. No, you have to do this.
Yeah.
Right? But now like when our generation comes up, it's like, why would we have to do it?
Mhm.
But they didn't get that lesson from their parents because they were just yelled at and said, you know, you have to do
You
it.
have to do it. Yeah.
So that knowledge isn't passed down. So now when we ask, they have nothing to say.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
so we need like that loss of like,
Mhm.
you know, that discipline is there, but like the loss of explanation is gone.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. I really like how you said that. Growing up, even for me, like there's been times not just in like this sense, right? But even outside of that, like I think there's a bit like something deeper that you're getting at, where we always are like taught to just be very compliant
Yep.
and just discipline and follow what we're told
Yeah.
without questions asked,
Yeah.
right? But I think like there should be like kind of like a middle ground, you know, where it's like you're able to still pass down the knowledge, but
Right.
without having to force it down someone's throat.
No, 100%. And
Right?
like, you know, like so many situations could be avoided. Like,
Mhm.
you know, like a different image of something can be
Mhm.
like, culture can be like seen through like a different eye.
Absolutely,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Because even for me, I say like culture, like I didn't even think about it like anything, like religion I grew up with, it was always around me.
Right.
But like it's kind of hard because I kind of got out of touch with spirituality and religion as well, because you kind of grow up and like you mentioned earlier, like you have that little phase of like
phase at the rebel
like
phase, yeah.
nah, like I'm busy, I got friends, like
Right.
I'm doing me, like leave me alone, right?
Right.
But then yeah, like I definitely think that like there's that discipline that we grew up with
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
a little
And
bit.
it's like you know, parents parents gotta look for that explanation to tell their kids because
Yeah.
like at the end of the day, like you can do the same thing your parents did, but like like then it's gonna run in their head like like he's right, like what do we tell them?
Exactly. I think a lot of the time parents don't feel the need to explain. They're just like, just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah,
and
right.
That's what I'm saying. Like you can't force your kids into culture, like force them to like go play something or like take them to Buddhas.
Like you could try it out, obviously.
It's not even that. Just lightly expose them. Like
exactly.
That's what happened to me. Like she just took me to a temple one day, and like I got attracted with everything. And like you'll see, the kids will see other kids doing it. Like they'll get that like attraction. You don't have to force them or like push them towards it. Just lightly like attract them, right?
That was very well said. Thank you. So we're just about to run out of time for this interview, but I really do appreciate you taking the time out to be here with us and share your knowledge. And you're always welcome here. But last but not least, I will allow you to say whatever you want to the audience. Do you have any piece of advice, any message that you'd like to share with them?
For young artists that are starting, or any artists that are like want to take a chance at music, or like want to get into it, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to mess up. I've messed up like countless times, and I pushed through. You have to fail to succeed. You have to. It's
absolutely.
A must. And just take the risk. Like no matter what anybody says, people close to you, far from you, you got to do it. You'll never know until you try.
That's very well said. Thank you for that. Just one last thing before we head off. For anybody that wants to be a little bit more involved or like wants to learn more about this sort of any of the things that you're a part of, what do you suggest they do?
Reach out to one of us. Because we're like a big group, and like we have like parents and stuff. So like just any way you can reach out. If you want to find me on like social media, or like any of the guys, or like Saraswati Gamper guys, you can search them up on Facebook and you'll find them.
Awesome.
Just reach out and.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing that. And so that wraps up our interview with Shiva Naiker. You could stay tuned for the rest of this episode. Thank you, Shiva, for joining me this week. Before I share what we have in store next for this episode, I'd like to hand it off to one of our youth team members for a quick message.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shivangni Sita Naiker, and on behalf of the Viti Vibes production team, I would like to thank each and every one of you who take the time to watch our show every week. We also wholeheartedly appreciate the support you show us, whether it be through social media, phone calls, or even emails. That being said, we want to let you know that our show is currently accepting business sponsors who would like to advertise on our show. So for anyone who is interested or like more information, please don't hesitate to email us at vitivibestv@gmail.com or give us a call at 778-709-2853. Thank you.
Up next, we have a short clip of Shiva that we'd like to share with our viewers, so please have a look. Hope you all enjoyed that clip. Now, before we part ways for the day, and as I had promised to share from earlier, I want to let our viewers know that we are expanding our youth production team. So if you live in the Lower Mainland and would like to be a part of this show and know what it takes behind the scenes of putting this show together, or be in front of this camera hosting this show right here, then this opportunity is for you. Call or email us if you'd like to join the team or if you'd like more information. Anyways, that wraps up our show for today, but I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did bringing it to you. Remember that this is your show too, so please feel free to let us know of any feedback, comments, and suggestions you may have for future episodes. Not only that, but if you have anyone you know, or if you would like to be on the show, then please give us a call at 778-709-2853, or email us at vitivibestv@gmail.com. If you have any events or information that targets or invites Fijian youth, then please feel free to let us know about that as well. We'd be more than happy to share it with our audience. For sponsorship inquiries, you could also call or email us. Remember that you can catch our show every Thursday at 10 p.m. and the reruns on Sundays at 4:30 p.m., which is right after our other show, Fiji in Focus. Be sure to like and follow our Instagram and Facebook page, which is at Viti Vibes TV, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is Viti Vibes. I look forward to having you all tune in next week, but until then, stay safe and stay healthy. I'm your host, Shannon Pramal, signing off. Vinaka.
Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Mental Mindset. As always, I'm Tasha Chand, a neuropsychology student and a mental health advocate, here to talk to you today about emotional boundaries. So let's first start off by what emotional boundaries are. Well, emotional boundaries is when you separate your feelings and emotions from someone else's. It's basically where you draw that invisible line that you don't cross and other people in your life don't cross, and it creates this personal space, this personal bubble, but for your mind, for up here. And it's actually a very healthy thing to do, which I will get into after. But first, I want to touch on emotional violations. And how do you know if someone is emotionally violating you? Well, one way someone might be emotionally violating you is if, let's just say, a situation occurs. You know, we all get into situations sometimes where we say something or we do something that we don't mean, or it comes off the way that we didn't intend to. Us as humans, we all have different filters, and those filters are created through our experiences. So
let's go. Yeah. All I say, go to that, they never seen that. Ain't fat, double shut your fingers, then you lean back.